So as many of you know, this is my aulonocara stuartgranti, more commonly known as a blue neon peacock, and he's been my breeder male now for close to a year. And as you can see, he's absolutely stunning. In this video we're going to look at a complete guide to breeding African cichlids and then selling them to your local fish store. So the first step in the process is getting the fish and females into an environment that they enjoy and can thrive in. For African cichlid aulonocara, this is a minimum of a 29 gallon, which is what you can see here. You also want to be keeping the water temperature around 78 degrees. You want to have plenty of filtration, which I was doing through an aquatic 70 that I had on the 29. Plenty of good biomedia, a little breeding cave like the one in the left there, some rocks to break up the line of sight for the females, and then in this video you'll be able to see the sand substrate that I were utilising. That's not necessarily needed though, and a lot of people, especially breeders, tend to use bare bottom tanks. It's easier to clean. If all these basic points are taken care of, you'll then start seeing breeding activity like this. This is when the male will shepherd the females to the top of the tank in order to try and impress them, and then eventually bring them down toward the bottom where he'll start fluttering and getting really animated like this. This, in my opinion, is the best part of the breeding process, as the male colours up immensely. And eventually you'll notice that the female gives in and comes down to the bottom, so the male can then fertilise the eggs that she's holding in her mouth. A healthy female only tends to hold about once a month, so if you do catch this kind of footage on camera, you're very, very lucky, as a lot of the time it tends to be done during the night. So eventually you'll notice that the aggression subsides, and when that occurs, you'll probably have a holding female. This is noticed by that big bulge in the female's mouth, and I would usually let her hold for about 4 to 7 days, and then I'd strip them and put them in an artificial tumbler, and that's what I'm starting to do now. So to be successful at this process, you need to catch the female, put her in a bowl like this with some water in, gently open her mouth and start rocking her up and down. This is when she'll release the fry, and depending on the age and the maturity of the female, you could be left with anywhere from 6 to 30 fry. With the haps, and especially the predator haps, you can be looking at more like 80, which is really, really cool. So after I've stripped them over, I'll put her back in the tank, and she'll be happy because she can now eat, as she hasn't got loads of fry in her mouth. And I'll throw the fry in this Tennessee egg tumbler. There's a lot of egg tumblers on Amazon, but this was the cheapest, and I'll link it down in the description if you want to take a look at it. Overall, I was really happy with this tumbler, and it just basically replicates what the fry would be doing in the mother's mouth, which is gently rocking. Depending when you strip the female, they could be in here for 5 days, or they could be in here for 2 or 3 weeks. It all depends on when their egg sac is gone. Once their egg sac's gone, you can move them into a little breeder net or a little holding tank, but in this case I use a little breeder net, as it's very easy for the fry to see the food. After maybe a month to 2 months, they'll be at this size, as long as they're all taking to food good. And at this point I've got them in a little 10 gallon tank. This is when I moved them to half of a 29, and they're really starting to put some size on at this point. I was feeding them little algae wafers so they could graze on them all day, some New Life Spectrum, some North Fin, and also some flake. Although in my opinion the two best foods that I utilised were bottom feeder sinking wafers that included spirulina, silkworm and krill, and also freeze-dried bloodworms, as that's high in protein, so it helps them to put size on even quicker. At this point they're actually in half of a 55, as I changed tanks, but they've definitely put some size on. And the other integral part during the growing process is to do plenty of water changes. This fresh water just helps them grow, as when you're performing water changes it actually reduces nitrates in your aquarium, which inhibits the growth if those nitrate levels get high. So during this phase I was at least performing a 50% water change once a week, and sometimes I'd even do twice a week if I had time to do it. At this point I've got a lot of fry in half the 55, and these are the algae wafers that I'm talking about. They can just nibble on them for hours, and if you get an absolute tank like that boy there, he just takes it whole, which at the time I was really worried about, but he's an absolute boss. Considering he's only been alive for about 6 or 7 months, he's absolutely huge now, and he's probably looking at about a 3-inch fish, so I'm definitely keeping him. Overall, this experience was absolutely quality, and it's so fun to see them starting to colour up and getting bigger day by day. And when you look through videos like this, you really notice how much they've grown. So this was actually the night before I sold them. I just thought I'd take one last little video of them all in the tank, and I've still got 2 more sets to grow out, so there'll be plenty more going to the local fish store. But the next morning, got 2 buckets. I had some hybrids going in one bucket, blue neons going in the other. Throw the light over the top so I could see the difference, and as you can see, that's a blue neon. No horizontal line, and the body shape, especially the head, is a lot different, so I separated the hybrids and the blue neons. The hybrids in the right, blue neons in the left, and in all I think I had 25. I put them in buckets just about a third full, and then closed half of the lid, but made sure that there were plenty of oxygen going into the buckets. This is in the car right there, and we're on our way. So here we are at Wet Pets and Friends in McMurray, PA, and one of the store employees were just slowly acclimating the fish to the system in order to throw them in the tank. And this were the blue neons about 2 hours later in the tank. And you can easily tell they're doing absolutely quality. They're all really active and swimming around and exploring the new environment. So overall, for this set of fry, this was probably about a 5 or 6 months journey to get them to this size and then get them in the local fish store. And overall, if any of you are thinking about doing this with any other kind of fish, all you've got to do is talk to your local fish store. If you can be competitive in the price that you're going to sell your fish for, then they'll obviously take the fish. And if you can create buzz around the certain kind of fish that you're bringing in, they'll take them without a shadow of a doubt. The photo that they had there with the blue neon, they had it up for maybe about a month and a half, 2 months, and they had people calling, people asking about the blue neons all the time. So when deciding what kind of fish you want to breed, my only advice would be choose one that's not necessarily common in your area. And if you think about it, it's something different for local fish stores to have locally bred fish. And if they're locally bred, the water's probably more or less going to be the same, so they acclimate a lot easier to that hobbyist tank. So here's the blue neon now. His females are gone, he's just by himself, but he's still looking like an absolute killer. And to be honest, I'm going through a little bit of a phase in the hobby where I'm absolutely loving my planted tank. If you haven't checked out the updates on the planted tank, make sure you do. I'm absolutely loving it, and there might be some changes to come soon. I'm not saying I'm leaving Africans, but the potential's there. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed making it and taking you through the whole life cycle of the blue neons. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do, as there'll be plenty of content coming. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and we'll see you on the next one.